Hi everyone, just giving another update on where I'm at with the build, rebuild, refurbishment, refit. So last time I left we had done some blasting on the hulls with some glass beads. That all went well as we showed. I've since gone through and done a bit of work on the hulls from that point. The whole purpose of all that is to get the top halves prepped and ready for paint. So that intersecting area between the chine area, upper and lower hull, is what needed to be complete. So I've gone through and done that. I'll run through that in a minute. I'll jump onto the Drogue chain plates, attachment points that I was working on, and we can see how we've progressed with that. Now, some of this is in mock-up stage, some of it is actual material that I'll be using. So I'll just spin the camera around. Okay. So what we have here is 50 by 8mm 316 stainless steel. These are mock-up bolts, so these are not the right bolts. These will be countersunk, and they'll be bolted through the deck. I'll explain a bit of this in a minute. I have one hole in at the moment. Once I have it all in location and positioned, I'll drill the remainder out. What we have running through here is some G10 plate, which is what that is. Okay, high compression strength, and that's bonded in into high density filler. So what that'll allow me to do is, when this is consecutively bolted through and then clamped up underneath the deck, it will spread the load, the compression load for this strap across this whole deck. I've already got glass that's laid in here that I've shown on previous videos. What I haven't shown is the underside. So this deck, which was or is a sheet of ply over stringers, deck stringers, has now had those pieces in between filled with Oregon, so that this whole area now is all solid Oregon underneath, and then a layer of ply over the top of that. So I'll show you that in a minute. So this all comes through here. So those 10 bolts will grip that deck without any point loading. We'll show from the inside, but this point here is right in the corner of that bulkhead junction. Right in the corner, I've got a block which I've fashioned on this internal corner, and I'll show you that in a minute when I jump inside. So this comes through. This is currently only an 8mm hole. This will be bored out to 15mm. That will allow a 12 or half-inch shackle to go through there. And then what happens here, this will be welded onto here like so, and those bolts are through bolted to the inside where there's a large backing block already that I've put on. I'll show you in another video, and that will tie that in. So I both have it pulling from up the hole and then along the hole. So I've got both directions covered. I'll shape it all in once I have these welded. I'll round all this off, do a bit more filling in here. We'll see how we go. Yeah, so that'll be more than enough grab on there. And the whole idea is that from bulkhead to bulkhead, both outer limits on the hull, this will grip it 100%. If this rips out, I would say that the whole deck's come off and I'm in a lot more trouble. Hopefully not. Okay, I will just going to jump inside the hull and I'll show you from underneath some of the arrangements. Oh, before I do that, that's a deck cleat I put on. So there's some blocking underneath for that too. Once again, it's all mocked up. G10 plate on top, a redwood block, sorry, blue gum block underneath with a G10 plate on top, and they'll be bolted through. So we'll just come under here, see if this is. Now this is, I painted this before as a trial to see how the 2-pack paint went alright. Yeah. So this is the final sheet of marine ply. So underneath here now is a solid Oregon deck, 20mm all the way through. And that's all laminated up. That is the corner block. That's where the bolt comes through from the chain plate for the Drogue. That's that last exit point. That's the corner I'm referring to. So this whole corner is all one structural point. And there's a block up in here. I can't do it at the moment. I don't have a light, but that's what backs the other side of that plate. This here's all been coved and double bias all the way through here, all the way through, all the way, and back up there. Okay, and returning. Okay, and then that was attached after the fact, so that this whole deck is all tied in now. That's the underside of that cleat. A couple of washers, a couple of proper bolts. That's tied into right onto this corner, so that's major loadings that corner. So it's a very strong cleat position. And let's sweep back to a bit of an overview here. Let's see. So from that point, there's going to be a 100mm plywood, 12 by 100mm maybe, running through there, and I'll bond that up, shape it all up, and then where each one of those remaining 8 bolts come through, 9 bolts, there'll be a 50mm or 40mm stainless washer. So the idea is that grips this whole deck, is tied into this bulkhead, whole side, bulkhead, just so I have the utmost confidence in its ability to hold the boat back and not fail. More as a, think of it more as a airbag. It's, you don't ever want to use it, and once you've used it, you've pretty much wrecked it, but it's done its job. So in an absolute worst case, breaking wave across the stern of this boat whilst the Drogue's attached, it may damage some structure of the hull maybe, but it may stop the whole lot being lost, which will be the end result. Most of the time I think they work out that the Jordan series Drogue, there's only going to be about 10% loading on it of what the whole system's designed for. So touch wood, I never have to give it a full test, and but I will use it as a normal attachment point. Okay, I will just come down. Yeah, so this area here, that's all welded up. That will look nice, and that's the direction of pull. Whack. Very solid. Could have reduced the sizes maybe just a small amount. I don't think it would have made a much difference in terms of weight saving. It will have made a major difference in my confidence in it. However, I have no doubt that the arrangement's stronger than the boat itself, so that's what I was aiming for. Okay, now I will come round. So that's those plates. I will now show you what I've done on the chines. So on the chines, as I had explained previously, you have little nicks and dings. You can't really see much in there. There wasn't too many, but I repaired all them. And then I've glassed over. So this is my sequence of glassing. I just sort of a mock-up for you. I sanded right up onto the copper coat. It's just bonding over fresh copper coat, and then the rest bonds back onto the epoxy and back into this cove. Now, to get my coating size, reduce some of the chuckle. I've just used a bucket, measured about 190mm diameter, and that's what we have there. So I filled all this with a mix of high density, or 411 and 413 filler, and then I glassed over with the 2 layers, this being the 2 layers here, so one 200 and one 150. What it means is over this, right on this knuckle or the chine, whatever you want to call it there, it's got those 2 layers plus the original 2 layers minus a couple of the odd ding or nick out of it. At the same time, like I said, I've really reduced that, made that chine a lot bigger. Yeah, so it's going to be bulletproof now down that strip. Bit of sanding to finish on here, obviously, and I think it's come out quite nice.